Hello, welcome everyone. This is Inspire Circle, where we seek to inspire you, to encourage you, and to empower you to be the best version of yourself. And today I'm not here alone. I have an amazing personality that I met a couple of months ago, precisely a year ago. And since then, we've hit it off. And I want to really appreciate God for that opportunity. So I have here Mrs. Modupe Ehinlaye. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's a family law practitioner, she's a Bible teacher, she's a mentor, and recently she founded the Talk with Mo show, and that has taken off and is impacting life tremendously. She wears many hats, as you can see, and her journey has been characterized by resilience, adaptability, and a passion for impact with the many things that she has been doing. And she's from a diverse background, from banking to law. She's always eager to embrace new opportunities. She pursued an MBA in the Richard Ivey School of Business in the Western Ontario University. And outside of her career and the so many things that she's doing, her academic pursuits, she has an unwavering faith and love for the things of God. And that is one of the things that drew me to her. And she's an impressive personality, as I said, and we are here today on Inspire Circle. I want to welcome you so much, Mrs. Modupe Ehinlaye. We are so excited to have you. The audience is so excited to have you. And we are going to be talking about something that is very, very crucial and interesting topic today that I believe somebody that listens to it is going to gain some wisdom out of it. And the topic is walking through the challenges of life. Walking through the challenges of life. You know, sometimes when people see, when you see people firsthand, you see them in their harvest, particularly when you see them in the harvest season, and you see all rosy, you see all the successes, you see all the things that they have achieved. You never know what has happened in the dark room, what has happened behind the stage, how they've been developed. So I want you to share with us, just to start off, share with us what you really understand by walking through the challenges of life.
Wow. Thank you so much, first, for me for the gracious introduction. And I just want to congratulate you on this talk show that you're having. I call it a talk show because it's impacting lives. As you already said, I'm passionate about the things of God. And so to see how you're doing this and impacting lives with just bringing in topics that are not discussed openly, that people want to push under the carpet, is to be applauded. And I also want to congratulate you on authoring your first book, Unstoppable. You are unstoppable, and I see that every day in the endeavors that you are taking. You didn't just write a book, but you're modeling it each and every day. So I want to thank you for being such a great and faithful example. And I just want to say hello to everyone from wherever you're watching from. I'm grateful to God to be alive today. Today is a testimony because I'm alive, I'm here, and I hope that it's a testimony for our audience as well. That they're alive and well is a huge testimony. Not everybody has a chance to wake up today. Now, to talk about today's topic, going through the storms of life. I like to call that going through the wilderness or going through challenges. And I like the analogy of the wilderness or the metaphor of a wilderness, because when you look at a wilderness in Sahara Desert, for example, it would be called a wilderness, but it is a desert. It's a desert of sands. There's nothing growing there. It's just sandy, but it is a wilderness. Yeah. Then you go over to maybe the Middle East, and then they take you to another wilderness, or even to Brazil, and they take you to a wilderness, and then you see trees. It's heavily wooded. And then you go to yet another wilderness, and it's full of rocks and hills and streams. And life is just like that. I say I like that analogy because when you say wilderness, it means different things for different people. It will look different for different people. So my season of wilderness might look very different from your season of wilderness, but are we all passing through the wilderness? Yes. We're facing life challenges. And because we're all created uniquely, even when we become parents, our children are not the same. Because we're all created uniquely, the capacity we have to walk through the wilderness or to weather the storms of life is going to be very different. So when I come to you and I say, I have a huge migraine, and you're looking at me and you say, you've not even been sick your whole life. All you talk about is this headache. Yeah, Baron, let us hear word. Let's peace reign. But that might be my own wilderness, because that is the capacity that I have to endure. Another person might be going through cancer. That is their own wilderness. They have the capacity to endure. So one wilderness is not necessarily worse off than another. What we should pray for is the grace to walk through. And that's what I want to dwell on today. You ask me, what do I know about storms? I look back now and I say, thank you, Father. Thank you, God, for taking me through those storms. If you have never understood a storm, or if you have never passed through a storm, you cannot enjoy the peace that comes after the storm, because you will not know the difference. But when you have passed through a storm and you enjoy peace afterwards, ask the disciples. They knew what they faced when the storm was raging, and they called Jesus, don't you care? We're perishing. And after he said, peace be still, they were able to move on. We didn't hear their wailing or their tears or their cries anymore. And that is what I have experienced in my life. And so when I tell people that I am grateful for the storms of my life, look at me like there must be something wrong with me. I'm not wishing storms upon myself, but I have grown, or God has grown me to the extent that I know that when a storm is heading my way, it is because there is something bigger in front of me. How do I know this? When a storm comes, when a wilderness experience comes, there is ministration. Ask Jesus. He was in the wilderness. He faced the storms. He faced loneliness, hunger, drought, dryness, temptation.
Yeah.
But after that, the Bible said, and angels came to minister to him. So it's important what we do in our storms. It's important how we're walking through the storm. And I want to pack at that word, walking through. Because many of us tend to sit in the storms of life. But the way God designed our life, it is not for us to sit in the storms. It is for us to walk through. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Isaiah 43:2. It says, when you walk through. When you walk through. Different iterations. When you pass through the fire, it will not burn you. When you walk through, it is walking through. God didn't design those storms, those wilderness, for us to sit in, because it's not a conducive place.
Absolutely.
If it was conducive, Jesus Christ will sit there. He wouldn't leave after the temptation, because angels came to minister to him. So what else? The angels are there ministering to him. You bring me water. You get me the kebab. You bring the carpet. You bring the towel. They were ministering to him. They were at his beck and call. But the wilderness is not a conducive place. It is a place that starts us off for higher ground. And that is why David understood it when he said in the 23rd Psalms, even though I walk through the valley of the darkest valley, we call it, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of the death, I will fear no evil. Why? Because you're with me. David was not sitting in that will. If he was sitting there, there's evil all around. He's going to be afraid. And when our heart is afraid, we lose focus. We begin to focus on the thing that is making us afraid. We begin to focus on the wilderness. We begin to focus on the storms. And that was why Peter began to sink. The storm, he was focusing on the fear. He took eyes off. Because the storms of life, the challenges of life, the wilderness of life is not a place for us to sit.
Wow.
It's for us to walk through.
Wow.
We walk through. And what did David say? He said, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. A person sitting down comfortably doesn't need a rod and a staff.
Yeah.
Because the duty of a rod and a staff is to ward off the lions, is to clear the path, because you're walking through. That is why God is giving you the rod and the staff. Comfort you in that journey as you're walking through. Your light, your word is a lamp, right, unto my feet and a light unto my path. That is what the rod and the staff is for. A lamp for the short journeys of life, a light for the path, the longer journeys of life. That is what it is about. And so I have gone through storms in my marriage, to the point of not knowing if my marriage will survive another year. Many women might not be able to say, I even moved out of the house, or I was on the verge of packing out of the house. Yes, I was on the verge of moving out. I actually moved out of the bedroom. But I give God the glory, because that was not the destination. That was my season of wilderness that I was almost sitting down in. And God shook me out and said, no. You got it all wrong. You don't sit here. No, you don't sit here. I have given you the rod and the staff to comfort you.
To lead you.
So keep moving. Keep moving. And so I moved. And today, to the glory of God, we've celebrated 30 years. And people look at you and they said, how did you do it? We did it by the grace of God. It did not come easy. There is no easy marriage. Just yesterday, unfortunately, the Prime Minister of Canada and his wife, after 18 years, they separated. It shows you it's not money, it's not position that keeps a marriage, but the author of marriage himself.
Yeah, absolutely, sis.
And so, as a parent, have I gone through the storms of life? Yes. Yes, when your adult believing children say, I don't believe anymore, and you call on God, and He channels them back to Him, and you know that surely your rod and your staff, they will comfort me so that I can continue on that journey. So I hope that answers the question.
Wow. As you were talking, I was soaking in, and as if tears was coming through my eyes, because in my own short journey in life and experience, I've also gone through the wilderness, as you call it. And there's something profound that you mentioned, that you will never know what peace is until you pass through that wilderness and you come to a place where peace is waiting for you. It's a very important thing that, the audience have to know, that whatever you are passing through now, be it any challenge, it could be health, it could be finances, it could be, your children, that there is peace at the end if you're ready to walk through, and not to sit down there, because that is not the intention and the plan of God. Is for us to walk through. So thank you for being vulnerable. I like the fact that you were able to share from your own life experience what you went through in your marriage, and that is all we are about in this Inspire Circle. To bring to fore that these are real people that have passed through, that they have encountered really challenges, and they've been able to come through to the other side. So we are so happy. We are dwelling on the wealth of wisdom that you have brought to this program today. Thank you very much. And my next question is, after you experience, the place of peace, what was the next thing that was on your mind? Because it would have been, okay, I'm out of the challenge, I'm out of the problem. Now I'm in a place of peace. Everything is going well. I can as well, sit down there. What was the next thing on your mind to do, after you went through the challenge, God brought you out, you were like, okay, you had respite, because also for Jesus Christ, Bible says after the devil tempted him for a certain amount of time, he had rest. And I believe he did not rest on his horse. He continued. So what was it like for you, that place of peace? We want to know.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love David in the Bible. And I would often quote him or quote what he does. So David came into being the king after years of wars and fighting, and the Bible said, and David had rest on all sides. But interestingly, when he had rest on all sides, what did he do? That was when David decided he wanted to build a temple, a house for God. And I think that is where we often go wrong. When things begin to look hunky-dory for us, when we're in our place of rest, we feel we have arrived. We feel the devil has nothing on us. Yes, he has nothing on us, but it will be foolishness. It will be hubris for us to think that we have surpassed one temptation, there's no other one coming. Because the devil never takes a break. And it will be foolishness for us to assume that because things are quiet, the devil is on vacation. I have a friend, when she's on vacation, she went on vacation one time, and she said she was having so much fun, she was enjoying, and then one of the days she went and she prayed, she said, Father, I am enjoying too much, everything is at peace, I'm afraid. What is going on? And that she was in this place of prayer, and God said, I am the one who has given you this time of rest. Enjoy it. And she came back and she told us, we're all on the same vacation together, and she said, this is what God said, I should enjoy it. And so while we're enjoying it, let's not forget God. And I said to her, I said, the mantra for me is, in our times of rejoicing, let us not sin. Because Job prayed for his children. They will go out to parties, and Job will pray that in their party, in their rejoicing, they should not sin. So David modeled that for me. That when everything was peaceful around him, it was a time to focus on God, to enjoy God. Because all the other times, Saul was running after him. He was always crying out to God, you are my refuge, you are my shield, you are the lifter up of my head. You know, he knew all of those prayers, but now it was a different season to just say, Father, I bow before you. I worship you. I love you. You are my hiding place. You are my safety. I can sleep and I wake up. I wake up and I'm singing. My heart thirsts for you. David can write all of those songs because it is now a different season. There's no crying. And now he wants to focus on building a house for the Lord. So in my time of rest, God called me and said, the experiences you have heard in your life, they are not fiction. It is a time for you to use those experiences to encourage others. People look at you and they say, Modupe, she's got it all together. Little do they know that, no, you are falling apart, you are crumbling on the inside. Is it time for you to take off the mask and present to them what the Lord has done? Because I didn't get here on my own strength, on my wisdom, on my ability, no. And so, in my time of quietness, God sent a vision. For David, his vision was to build a temple. But God said, no. That's not for you to do. Your son Solomon will do that. In my time of quietness, God sent a vision that from what I experienced, we will form what we'll now call Oakville Praying Moms. Because many mothers went through what I experienced and they could not speak out for shame, for pride, for various reasons. And anything that is hidden, the darkness has power over.
Absolutely.
When it is coming to light, it is liberated in the freedom of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And so to be able to come out and say, yes, I am a mother. I am not going to call my child's name so that you don't know which one. Please pray for M.O. on the Praying Moms platform. Who needs a husband? Who needs a wife? Who is going through this? Who needs job? Out of my despair, out of the wilderness experience, God helped us to form what we now call today Oakville Praying Mom, which I'm just going to look through, I think, just to see what the membership is like. So as of today, 166 participants on WhatsApp.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
That is one thing that came out of my one wilderness experience, and from another wilderness as a parent. And in the terms of marriage, I mentor a lot of young women and men in marriages. And to the glory of God, we have been able to keep people together, keep couples together. Because when they see you and you tell them, I've been through that and worse, I know exactly how you feel. I hear what you're not saying. There is power when you share.
Wow. Yes.
So
that's so amazing. Your story is so amazing. And one thing I've discovered is that each one of us, God has given us a story. It now depends on what we do with our story. Absolutely. Because our stories are powerful. Stories are so powerful. Absolutely. You can either decide to keep your story under the carpet, as it might be, and it's not a blessing. It's as if you just went through that situation and circumstance is not impacting any life. Right. And you can decide to inspire other people with your story. As you were speaking and I was listening to you, I got so inspired that this woman, you would never believe that she has passed through such things, because I can imagine. I don't have any marriage challenges, but I've had my own fear of challenges in life. As you said, everybody's wilderness is different. Yours might be just the sand, yours might be full of trees, yours might be full of rocks. It's quite different. So mine was when I was having my children, having lost 3 children consecutively, in an early marriage, and having one that was sick. It was a very challenging period for me. And that was one of the things that liberated me. I said, God has brought me thus far. I can pass this story on. Somebody there, even if it's just for one person that is going through this, they might be able to hear my own side of the story, how God has brought me through, And the same thing for you, how God has brought you through. And I believe that so many lives has been impacted by your ability to come open. And it also takes the grace of God to say, okay, I want to share my story. I want to come out there. I want to be vulnerable. I want somebody else to hear about me. It seems because I know I might be wrong, that you are an introvert, a little bit of an introvert. So it might be a little bit challenging, because it was for me challenging to come out there and say, okay, I want to share my story. But I really want to say thank you for being brave and courageous enough and being vulnerable enough to share your story.
Thank you.
We are not taking it for granted. Thank you so very much. Right. Now, I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and we are going to go a little bit into purpose.
Okay.
Into the aspect of purpose, because you mentioned a little bit about it, that while you were in that place of peace, and you used the David's illustration about the time he was at peace and he wanted to do something for God. Could it be that in our pain, sometimes we get to a place where purpose is unveiled to us, or it becomes clearer to us? I want you to talk a little bit into that aspect.
And I think it's going to be different for different people, right? Purpose is such a huge topic that if we want to go into it, we may not have the whole day to finish that discussion. But I think it depends on what your heart is seeking. The Bible says when you ask God, he gives you what delights your heart, right? And I believe that if you are earnestly seeking for something or clarity, or you're constantly asking him, I want to do this. What's my purpose? He is a good God. He's faithful. He's true. He's going to reveal that purpose to you. So, and that purpose, again, it will look different, right? For someone who's in a government employment, for example, a paid employment, their purpose, the thing they will consider their purpose in life might be to get into a higher position so they can assist or help many people as they can, or to earn bigger money. A farmer, the farmer's purpose might be, how can I impact a whole village with my... So our purpose is going to be different depending on the desires of your heart. Now, what I find is that our purpose, whatever it is very much intertwined with who God says we are. So if you're a nurse, there'll be a purpose that your experience as a nurse will be very, very intertwined with. And the reason I believe God does that is because none of our experiences will be wasted. Everything is for use for him. And so in the seasons of my own storms or wilderness, I know I was asking God, why am I even going through all of this? And when it was done, I was like, okay, now that it's done, God, what do I do with this? But there was this vision that I believe he put inside of me. It was like, speak to people. For 4 years, I was like, I can't speak to people. I can't, like, I don't know how to do it. Okay, if I even start, how do I convince people to come and talk to me? But he gives you clarity, step by step. And so 4 years ago, when I had that purpose, or when I had that vision, I didn't know how to go about it. I was like, okay, this vision has come, okay, fine. And then I told God, I'm like, I don't think I can do it. But year after year, it was like a layer on. And then finally, last year, I called him because it was too heavy on my heart. You have to do this. I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to do it. If you want me to do it, this is a sign I want. And it's funny because many people will say, that might be fetish. Why are you asking God for a sign? But I believe that Hebrews says Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He doesn't change. And so if he's the God who appeared to Gideon under a tree that he was hiding from the Moabites and called him a mighty man of valor. The same coward that God said is a mighty man of valor had the confidence to ask God for not one, but 3 specific signs. then I am in a better covenant.
Yeah.
I can ask God for the same sign. And so I asked God, I said, if you want me to do this, if this is your vision and not me hearing things, I want you to do A, B, C on this day. Because I needed clarity and I wanted to be specific so that there's no confusion in my head. And God showed up. He did them, pump, pump, pump.
Amazing.
The way I asked. And so, if going through the wilderness doesn't birth a higher purpose, you may want to go back to God and say, God, what was that about? It may not be immediate.
Yeah.
Maybe for the future. But there's always going to be a purpose. God is not a purposeless God. Every experience we have, it is to give him glory. We may choose to shut down our experiences. It does not rubbish the truth of God's word or the purpose in our lives. So the fact that we don't share our experiences does not take away that we went through that experience. God knew, or God knows, we know that went through that experience. So like you rightly said, we all have stories. It is what we do with it that matters. I often tell people, no information is random. You see, if you're walking down the street and somebody just randomly comes to tell you, Fumi, they are selling newspaper at McDonald's. I don't take those kind of information as random.
Yeah.
I sit back and I said, God, they're selling newspaper in McDonald's. What has that got to do with me? What is my part in that news? There's a reason he didn't go to Bumi. There's a reason that news came to me. And sometimes it may be just for me to pray about it or call somebody else and say, they are selling newspapers in McDonald's. Maybe that is where the person's bread and butter is going to come from. But no information is random.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. No information is random. I've actually gained wisdom from that because there's something that happened recently and somebody reached out to me and was just like giving me information. I was wondering, why is this person must really have been sent, to me, because some things had happened beforehand and that person came on board. It wasn't because we were so close, but she just came on board. I was just giving information. I felt, do I really need this information? And God said, no. There is something, pay attention to it. So this is just a confirmation of, what I've been going through that you just mentioned. And because of our time, I have one last question for you.
Yes.
As somebody that, will come across this channel or would listen to this, and I want you just to put a word in there, a word of encouragement for them. They are passing through. We have talked about God doesn't want us to sit down there, but to pass through. So just give that word of encouragement to that. It could be that boy, that girl, that man, that woman.
I'm going to take my encouragement from the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 10. I like that verse. I also like Isaiah 61. This is 60, where it says, arise and shine. People often take that to be like a suggestion. But arise and shine is not a suggestion, it's a command. And it is the very first verse of that chapter 60 of Isaiah. So there's nothing preceding it for you to say, God said, if I'm lying there, if I'm sick, I cannot arise and shine. No. You can be in the wilderness. It is what you do in the wilderness that matters. You can be facing the storms of life. It is what you do in that storms that matter. But regardless of what it is you're going through, unless you're and this is not just a physical arise and shine. Your spirit can arise and shine when your feet cannot arise and shine. Arise and shine, for the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. Many of us wear gloom very well, such that you walk down the street and your neighbors know, it's not a good day, don't talk to her. We have become so accustomed to wearing gloom. Let's shake it off. Arise and shine. Micah chapter 10 says, get up, Go away, for this is not your resting place, because it is defiled. It is ruined beyond all remedy.
Hmm.
And that is what the desert is. Why are people not building houses in the wilderness? Why are people not building houses inside a storm? It is ruined beyond repair. But we happen to be sojourning past there. So whether you're going through childlessness, you're going through a period when you're waiting for your husband, you're going through a period where you're married and it feels like you are like a third wife in your own home, or even treated worse. My sister, my friend, my brother, I want to tell you, it is a season. And as sure as God lives, he said, as long as he lives, there'll be harvest time and there'll be seed time. Yeah. Meaning every season will occur. And so I want to tell you, I want to share with you today that it is time for you to shake it up. Get up, arise and shine. Whatever that might look like. Today, it might look like you getting up, putting makeup on yourself and just going and singing. It may look like you being even able to try and feed yourself. It may look like you having hope. Whatever that might look like, I want you to arise and shine. The NKG version of Micah 2:10 says, arise and depart. It is time for you to leave the wilderness. And maybe you have forgotten that the wilderness is not a destination. I want to encourage you today. Arise, depart, for this is not your rest. That is what NKG version says. It says, arise and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is defiled. And sometimes, many women I know recently, they're going through menopause and they feel like life is over. The word itself says menopause. It is not stop.
Oh.
We cannot stop when God has not stopped us. So whatever you are going through, when God says it is not over, I don't know why you say it's over. It may be difficult, but it's doable. And with God on your side, you can arise and shine, because I have arisen and I am shining by the help of God. I hope that encourages someone today.
Wow. I can only say wow. Wow. This is so amazing. Thank you so much for that word of encouragement. Somebody out there, arise and shine. In fact, that was my word for the month of August. Arise and shine. And it's not a suggestion. Wherever you are, whatever place where life has spoke to you, it is possible to still arise and shine. Joseph arose even in Potiphar's house. He shined. In the prison, he was still shining because he decided to obey that command, arise and shine. So thank you so very much, Mrs. Modupe Ehinlaye, for coming on this platform and for being a source of blessing to us. We have so much gleaned from your wealth of wisdom and the grace of God upon your life, and we are not taking it for granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.